Hello everybody and welcome back to Cities Skylines, where we are currently working on getting our demand in check. It seems to be a little bit in check anyway, and I want to tick forward a little bit here, and we'll keep an eye on that, but we do have a lot of points to spend here. So let's just get all of this. Can we get everything unlocked? Probably not, but we can get a significant chunk. I'm not too concerned about what we unlock because I'm relatively happy with what we have right now. But we can definitely just start going through here. And, oh, we've only got 4 left at this point. Yep, that's fine. We can grab, like, the technical and the medical university, and that'll be fine. We do have a bunch of land grants, of course, and we can buy a bunch of map tiles, but we're not too concerned about that right now either. So let's continue to tick forward here, and let's just see how things end up shaping up here. Now, this is all medium housing, and this is, I believe, medium housing as well. Yes, I think. It's very difficult for me to tell, but just based on the housing models, I believe that that is the case. We do see that there is demand creeping up for the low-density housing, so that is a thing. When isn't there demand for low-density housing creeping up, though? That is the ultimate question there. And the answer is it's always creeping up. Always and forever. So we could definitely expand up here. That is an option. We can also start filling in down this direction. The question is, where exactly do we want to go for that? So I think for now, what we're going to do is we're going to start going up this way. We can certainly, and yeah, we have these like prefab intersections now. Out of curiosity. I see what that does. Yeah, I probably don't actually want to use these. I'll probably continue making crappy ones. So that's absolutely fine. I want to grab the 4-lane highway, and we're going to crank this on up in terms of its altitude, and I want to just bring this on over here. We want to ultimately build this up to the city limits here. So just right up to here. Now, that might be some issues. Yeah, right here in particular. Noted. But we can address that later. That is not a right now concern. Now, we do have a transformer station here. So what that ends up meaning is that this road kind of needs to truncate here. Unless we were to move the transformer station. Which might not be a bad idea, especially considering this is an on-off ramp area. If we were to move it, where would we want to move it to? Not here, that's for sure. Out over this way, potentially? I guess that's fine. And then we can bring our high-tension power line here, I guess our high-voltage power line, this section would need to get removed. And we would bring this guy up here and over. This is going to cause some issues, however, when we have our on-off ramps being built here. So that's going to need to be addressed. This is a temporary solution at best. So for now, I want to check to see, can we run this road out through here? Yes, we can. Okay, that seems reasonably fine then. Let's get this to be approximately correct here. There we go. And then we would bring it in about like that. That looks correct. Beautiful. So now we would, of course, run this guy straight on out to the edge of the map. There we go. And then this guy would go here. I'm assuming we can get in here. Actually, this small park needs to be moved 1 block over. I just realized that the road setup in this park, like the path setup, is exactly the channel logo. Like, literally exactly. City Skylines 2 devs, did you do that on purpose? I highly doubt they watch me. But regardless, that is an interesting coincidence. This is literally exactly the Orbitron A. Okay. Sure. I like it. That's phenomenal. That means that now I can't build any parks other than the small park. Right? That's how this works. That is the only park that is allowed to be built now. So that's good. For some definitions of good. I'm going to use the curve tool up over here, and yeah, we're going to run into some pretty major issues with the power line up through here. I'm just going to take that out, and we're going to get this built in quote-unquote properly. I want this to come up over here-ish. We've got pillars right there. We could actually just come through something like this, though, and bring it around over here. And that's reasonably fine. So we would just bring it up and through something like this, approximately. That's currently in water, which is, you know, awkward. This is flooding up over this way, and that's going to need... Is that going to change? I don't think that's going to change. I think that's going to be flooded here forever, unless we terraform it. So I'm going to use the level terrain tool. And we're just going to bring this right on up. I want this to be here for the altitude. Something kind of like that. No, that's not how this works at all. Okay. Something kind of like this as far as the altitude goes. And that'll take a little bit to get sorted out. And of course, we're going to need to smooth it a bit. No doubt about that. But let's let that get figured. Well, even then, we're going to need to be a little higher out over here, aren't we? The answer is yes. Yes, we are. So we're going to do something about like that. There we go. And now we can use the soften terrain tool to just smooth this right on out and make it a wee bit better. There we go. Something along the lines of this will hopefully do the trick. Hopefully. Okay, just smoothing this area a wee bit. But I do want to get this area slightly leveled out over here. Kind of like that. And then we're going to soften it again. Not shift terrain. Soften terrain. We're going to soften it out over this direction. About like that. Okay. Now, what we're going to need is a solid embankment here, right? So what that ends up meaning is we get the level terrain tool and we get, like I said, a solid embankment right over this way. I'm going to take this section of road out of here for the time being. And I just want to make sure that we have a solid embankment. So we just need to make sure that it's at least about this height. So something kind of like that for now. Okay. Now we'll use the soften terrain tool, but I'm going to primarily use it on this side. I'm going to use it a little bit out over here. But it's almost entirely going to be used out this direction. Okay. So something along the lines of that. I just want to smooth out one side of that embankment. And make it just a wee bit more natural. Yeah. Something like that will do. Now, we don't have that going on over here, right? So I'm going to knock back the highway here, that wee little bit. And I want to grab, say, this altitude here. And we're just going to do pretty much the same thing over here, where we're just seeking to set up a solid embankment here so that we don't have these like massive floods. That would not be great. And we're going to need to remove our power lines over here as we get this done. So that'll be okay. Now, out over here, it's okay to leave it basically where it's at and just do something kind of like this. Okay. Now I'm going to use the soften terrain tool, and we're going to soften one side of it, as well as a little bit softening out over here. Something kind of like that. There we go. And we'll soften out this side of the embankment. Cool. Something about like that should do. Just checking in on this side. Yep, it looks okay. So now we shouldn't have issues, in theory. I want to check on our water height here. Okay. We definitely see a lot more water height here. Is this actually working here now, though? Possibly. Actually, yes, it is. Phenomenal. So we have sufficient water height there. Now, I do want to extend our highway out here. So that'll be out over this way, right? And we're going to need to get it up in terms of altitude fairly swiftly here. So I think that the best way to do that would be to knock it back a little further and start this inclination up over here. So that's now like a 10% grade, right? And we're just going to continue to head through over here. Approximately like that. This is going to probably require some revision as we get our parallel road there, but that'll be fine for now. Okay, now, as far as our parallel road over here goes, I want to have that come in about like so. And I want this guy to be coming out over here ever so slightly. And then it can just come up about like that. That'll do for now. Then what we can do is, now that we actually have this section of road, we can use the level terrain tool. And we can grab down over here, right? And that'll allow us to level this out over here. So we have this right up alongside this embankment. It's very safe. This is extraordinarily safe right here.
Immediate area due to poor road conditions.
Excellent.
Please exercise caution if you must drive.
Okay, now, I'm not necessarily loving what's going on here. I think that what we need to do in this exact location is we just need to use the soften terrain tool right over here and just soften that out a bit. So it'll be about like that. There we go. Now the water will, of course, need to reset, but that's okay. That won't take it too long. Cool. So something along the lines of that will do.
My dear Professor,
and you know, we could do the same thing along this entire river and just make sure that this is all evened out. That's not necessarily a terrible idea. I don't hate that concept. So we could grab the level terrain tool and just bring it through all like this. So we're just grabbing the same altitude and just making sure that this is pretty much where it needs to be.
But I digest.
In theory.
Professor Hornbuckle, as a traveler,
oh, we've got this going on again? Okay, get out of here. There we go. Excellent. So, now, as we were doing, we are definitely seeing the river having some issues here. That's to be expected, absolutely. The river is going to have issues for a bit while we're working on this. But I think it's absolutely fine. We're still not actually having music nonstop. Okay. There we go. I'd like it if there was an option to only have music. That would be nice. We need to level out here. And of course we can level out the other side as well. That is also absolutely fine. So that'll of course end up looking something like that. But we're going to have some low water levels for a while here as we work on this. No doubt about that. And there's also some low terrain over here. We can grab the soften terrain tool and do something like that if we really wanted to. And that would do the trick. Cool. So we can just kick this back so that we have much, much sharper embankments here. And I think overall that's a pretty decent idea. I'm not sure exactly what just happened here. Oh, I see. That's interesting, the way that that's working. That's very interesting. I want to use the soften terrain tool right over here because we're definitely going to want that to be a bit softened out. Actually, I'm going to use the level tool here. And we'll just level it out right there. Actually, right here. There we go. Cool. That'll do. And now we can just continue to get rid of this terrain down through here. Phenomenal. I'm keeping an eye on our demand, and it's not actually changing all that much, so it seems reasonably fine for the moment to be undertaking a project like this. So this is just all about cleaning up our river, right? And this is going to make ridiculously clean lines, like artificially clean lines, but I like it. I mean, there's absolutely nothing naturalistic about this city right now, so it's, I think, absolutely a good thing to be doing something like this and just cleaning up the river. Cool. So that's all looking absolutely fine. I wonder what exactly is going to happen with this pumping station. It looks like it just connects straight down. So that doesn't appear to be an issue in any meaningful way. That is good to know. And then, of course, this we can widen out. And we can just have a fair amount more river space here. We are going to have quite a drop-off. We may want to consider putting another dam in down over here. That would be an interesting way to go. So we put in another dam down there, hypothetically, and sure, the altitude down here is actually significantly different than the altitude up here. That is reasonably expected. So yeah, that's an interesting concept. We would put in the dam there specifically to... Let's just use the level tool here. Okay, we put in the dam down there specifically as a way to fill in this section of river here. That would depend entirely on how this ended up being filled, right? That's how that would end up being. So we could certainly go for this level the entire way down. And that may not be a bad idea. So I just want to clear out these areas here. Just knock that back a wee bit. There we go. We definitely have some drop-off over here, which is not what I'm looking for. And we'll just get that put in. There we go. Something about like that'll do. Okay, so obviously we have some water issues right now. No doubt about that. But we can just go through and get this done at this level, in theory. Okay. So something along the lines of this, right? This is going to mean exceptionally deep river. That's what this means. And, of course, our water is freaking out right now. That's not surprising. In fact, we're having some issues of it breaching the wall over here. That's a very temporary problem as we get this hollowed out. That's a very, very temporary problem. We will have a large amount of additional space in our river here. That's for sure. 100% that is for sure. So I want to continue to push this through here. We may want to consider increasing the brush size a wee bit here and just carving out the bottom of the river and not caring too much about the sides, since we have those in a quasi-reasonable state right now. Ooh. Overshot over here, that's for sure. We'll get that leveled out. There we go. And I think I overshot over here as well. Yes, that is accurate. Okay, so something kind of like that. Okay, and then we can just continue bringing this right on through like so. And coming down to this same altitude out over here. Excellent. And then we can knock this shoreline back ever so slightly over here. We're not going to do that to the other side just yet. Okay, now we actually, because of the city limits, need to go down in size. But that's okay. We're not going to knock back this shoreline just yet because we don't have a road there. But overall, that will do. I wouldn't mind knocking back the shoreline over here, though, because we do have a road there. So something along the lines of this. Just making these relatively nice, clean lines. Overshot a bit up here, that's for sure. Okay, let's get, like, this altitude. That's a little high. Let's get this altitude. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay. So that'll do for the moment, and then we can use the soften tool to make sure that this is just a little bit softened up over here. We probably made some horrible elevation sins, but that's fine. Okay. Sure, that'll do for now. Now, that's this section of the river complete. Now we've got this up here, right? So we can just start taking this right on back. I'm going to bump our brush size back up to 100 here. And we can just push our way through over this direction. We can bump up the brush strength. I think that'll be helpful. I'm not going to do this side of the river. Let's take this back up to 250. And we're just going to push through here, hollowing out this section of the river. There we go. And we'll just do something about like this for right now. Now we can address this side over here. And yes, I know there were a couple of spots of overshoot. We'll get that softened out shortly. There we go. And time to soften out this terrain up here. Actually, I think this is a little over-softening it, to be honest. Yeah, it's trying to, like, lower it here. So I want to grab about this altitude, and we'll just level this on out over here. And then we'll look to soften it. So something kind of like that, and then we will soften this right back out. So we're going to have a pretty big dip here, actually. Why is it softening like this? I guess because it's trying to emulate that. Okay, let's just grab our level terrain tool. Let's grab this height, and we'll just put it at the road height. Okay, and then we'll soften it out on the other side. Okay, so something about like that. Then we can soften this here, like so. There we go. That should do the trick. Cool. Okay, so obviously the river is going to need some work, and this is a very jagged kind of look that this is acquired. But we'll see how it looks later on. It's relatively okay over here. It might not be too bad in the winter overall. Now, we do need to get this power put in here as a, like, temporary solution. There we go. So that power goes there. As far as the rest of the power goes, we're actually relatively fine without this transformer, actually, because we do have power connections elsewhere, I believe. We're having some flooding issues down here. That's deeply unsurprising for the moment. And I want to... Okay, we are flooding the dam right now. That's a good sign. It'll go back down. It'll definitely go back down. But yeah, I'm currently thinking a second dam down here is an interesting idea. We have a lot of flooding going on down this way, and given the amount of terraforming that we just did, I'm not surprised that we're having some issues down here, but it will eventually even out. The water levels are extraordinarily high at this moment, but I do expect them to drop over time. Now, okay, these just dropped here. Okay. Actually, that's LODs. Huh. That's intriguing. Water LODs are stretching it upwards like this. We may need to do something about that with softening. We'll see. For the time being, we'll just allow the water to settle. That'll definitely need to happen. The water level will drop, given time. We know that there's a lot of extra space underneath, and the water definitely reacts kind of strangely. City Skylines 1 water reacted crazily, but a little bit more predictably, I think. Maybe I'm just not used to this. But we'll see. Yes, there is a lot of flooding going on over here at the riverbanks. That is not surprising in the slightest. But we hollowed out underneath a lot here, so as the water comes out, it should, in theory, recede significantly. That said, this might be affected more by sea level than anything else. So what we might absolutely have to do is put a dam here. I know I talked about it previously, but let's think about that right now. So if we were to put a dam here, hypothetically, yeah, elevation too low, we would need to deal with the elevation. I think we need to let the water level drop a bit. Like, water level is currently, I think, significantly above sea level. Yeah, it definitely is. So that water level just needs time to figure out where it's going. It needs to find itself at this point. We can see that there's also been some spillage up over here. And given this situation, I guess I'm not too shocked about that. So let's just grab this altitude and get that leveled out over here for the moment. There we go. Cool. And yeah, we definitely see some things like this going on. I wonder if that's better in the winter, but it would certainly be better if we made this a little less sharp. Like, better in the summer, I mean. But this is a very sharp cutoff, right? And I wonder if we have a way to finish it.
A driving advisory has been
Maybe?
issued for the immediate area due
I don't
to
know.
poor road
But for
conditions.
now, it'll do.
Please exercise caution.
It'll
if you
do
must
for the
drive,
moment.
and
I
try
want
to
to
stay
check
off the
in on
streets
our
until
flooding
conditions
situation
improve.
down here. It
This
is still a
available
little
public
rough.
service announcement.
It'll take time for this water to
You're
change.
listening to Second
There's a
Road,
lot
the
of
epitome
things
of
occurring right now.
nationalism
I like how
and
people are still just
wherever
driving through the
you go.
highway like normal. They're like, yeah,
And
this is
on to our main
this is
feature
fine.
Story. The commercial district is booming. As
Hilarious.
The area is attracting more high-end stores.
So there's some
bringing
issues
the
down
latest
over
in
here.
luxury to our
Absolutely.
neighborhood.
We've
You
got
can
a
now
lot of
shop for
underwater
designer
stuff
shoes
going on,
while
which
sipping
is
a fancy
strange
local
considering that we
Charlotte
should have
Mustang.
overall
Or so
dropped
my wife
the water
tells me.
level.
That's good for business. And
But I think
good
that
for
it
the
has to
community.
do with the
Thanks,
the ocean over here.
We'll be back.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there. So next episode, why
We're
is all this
live,
abandoned?
and we're getting reports about
Okay,
a
whatever.
traffic accident.
Next episode, we're going to see about
somewhere,
addressing this
in the
situation.
city.
I want to
Road
get a dam
maintenance
down
services have
here
already been
to make
dispatched,
sure
and
that
traffic
water
flow
is
should
only
return to
flowing
normal.
one
But if
direction,
you're planning a quick trip
and
out,
that'll
you
be
might
that'll
want
be
to
for the
take a little
best.
while and
It'll
have a
take some
think for
time to get
yourself.
this water
If you're in
receded,
it,
but
you,
we'll see about
you
getting
already
that
know
done.
about it.
You can
So
leave
you
your
can
offerings to the
find it.
engagement gods in the
Meanwhile,
form of likes,
check
comments,
the
subscribes,
ratings,
and
for Christ's
bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.